I think we are now going to a different segment of this gathering. The first roundtable that is going to be facilitated by Emilio Rabasco, the program manager at the Andalusian Fund of Municipalities for International Solidarity, FAMSI. We are going to be talking here about challenges facing the outbreak. I would just like to remember the 224 participants that we have now, that there is interpretation available, and you just need to make that choice in the menu underneath in your screen. And I would like now to give the floor to my colleague, Emilio Rabasco, and wish him all the best with the moderation. Please bear time in mind, and you will be seeing a screen coming up asking you to close if we are really in trouble. Thank you very much. Emilio, the floor is yours. Adelante.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Buenas tardes, buenos días, buenas noches a todas y a todos. Gracias por esta oportunidad. Voy a intentar ser muy breve en la introducción porque tenemos muy poco tiempo y para no robarle a los diferentes ponentes. Pero sí quería dar dos ideas o dos elementos que se han resaltado. Uno, cómo los gobiernos locales somos clave en este momento. Uno, para la generación de conocimiento. Dos, para la incidencia de las políticas nacionales multilaterales que se van a desarrollar en nuestros territorios. Recordemos que la incidencia en la recuperación y en el impacto de esta crisis va a estar mucho del lado de las pequeñas y medianas empresas, por ejemplo, de empresas que tienen mucho que ver con los territorios. Tres, la necesidad de encontrar modelos nuevos, modelos económicos nuevos también a nivel local. Hay que pensar si después de esta crisis, vamos a recuperarnos para seguir con modelos continuistas o vamos a servir también, o que sirva esta crisis también para la transformación también de nuestras economías locales. Son tres temas que nos preocupan y son tres temas por los que la Comisión de Desarrollo Económico y Social de FGLU impulsó este webinar, y es un primer espacio de trabajo donde telegráficamente casi la mayoría de los ponentes van a tener que aportar algunas ideas, pero va a continuar en el espacio de trabajo de CGLU y de la Comisión, y por tanto un espacio al que invitamos a todas las ciudades miembros a que se sumen. El segundo, se ha mencionado ya, la alineación con el Foro Mundial de Desarrollo Económico Local, un espacio que ahora en mayo deberíamos estar desarrollando en Córdoba, Argentina, y un espacio que tiene 3-4 líneas de trabajo que están más vigentes que nunca: la inclusión, el territorio, la innovación y el empleo. Son 4 temáticas que creemos fundamentales en este momento, y por tanto el Foro Mundial va a seguir siendo ese espacio de generación de conocimiento. Y aquí reconocer el trabajo de nuestros compañeros del Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo, que hoy nos acompañan, de la OIT, de Orufogar y, por supuesto, CGLU y FAMSI, que también forman parte del comité organizador. Sin más, esta mesa redonda, donde va a haber 5 intervenciones, queríamos que se centrara en el impacto, retos, alguna iniciativa clave y una mirada a futuro de lo que está pasando en la temática de empleo y desarrollo económico local en nuestras ciudades. Y para ello quería invitar al primer representante, al señor Sithebe, asesor económico especial del primer ministro de la región de Gauteng, de Sudáfrica.
Thank you.
Tiene la palabra.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. It's afternoon in South Africa this time. We can move to the next slide. I just need to firstly maybe mention that Gauteng City Region is actually a center of employment, not just for people who come from South Africa, but it has a greater impact for the Southern African region. For instance, people from neighboring countries such as Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Botswana, Mozambique, Malawi, the DRC, a lot of them work in South Africa. So we have been in the lockdown for about 35 days. And this 35-day period has had an impact not just in our economy, but it has had an impact in the remittances that are sent to these various countries. What we have done in the period of 35 days here in the Gauteng City Region, most of you know it as Johannesburg, which is one of our biggest cities. What we have certainly done is to firstly support people with food, basic things like food and shelter. This is because we have had a lot of job losses. A lot of our firms were unable to survive the 35-day period. In the main, the reason being that when we went on a COVID-19 lockdown, already our economy, even for our city region, was in a recession. So the lockdown happened when we're already a fragile economy. We can move to the next slide. Okay, we can actually move to the next slide. So what we have done, because our responses are as a city region are not only economic, but they are also social. So what we've done is to actually support people for the post-lockdown period. For instance, from tomorrow, we are downgrading the lockdown to a lower level where people can now do business. So amongst the things that we are doing is to help them to access new markets, because they now cannot trade internationally because the movement of goods is not yet fully flourishing. What we've also done together with the domestic banks was to negotiate payment holidays for a lot of the people who would have lost income, for a lot of businesses that would have lost income. We've also negotiated payment holidays with municipal services. So we are now, as a city region, getting a lot of support from our central government because we are not collecting municipal revenues. Okay, so in the main, almost all the banks that we work with or that operate in South Africa have lended a hand in helping us to deal with the challenges. The other thing, which is going to be my last point actually, is that some of you may know that Johannesburg in South Africa is regarded as amongst the most highly unequal societies in the world. And what COVID-19 has done, it was to expose more the areas of weakness of people that have no places to stay and who suffer from not having access to sanitation. We've always known that these problems exist, but what COVID-19 situation has done was to highlight those areas. So what amongst our solutions it has been that we needed to drive a very aggressive infrastructure program, which is meant to solve some of these problems. Most of these people are South African, but a significant number of them also are people who would have come from other countries as immigrants. And we suddenly found ourselves that now that they don't have incomes, it is now the state that is supposed to make sure that they've got shelter, they've got food, and that they are well secured. That's our input. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor Sithebe. El punto de vista también de una región que complementa también esfuerzos a nivel local. En este panel era muy interesante tener también la visión de las regiones. Quería darle la palabra al señor Dave Smith, director de la región de la ciudad de Sheffield, en Reino Unido.
Dave Smith.
Thank you, everybody, and good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Just perhaps to give a few points of introduction concerning the Sheffield City Region. Sheffield City Region is in the industrial heartland of the United Kingdom with a population of 2.1 million, 65,000 businesses and an annual GVA of £35 billion sterling. Historically, it was the centre of steel manufacturing, coal mining and heavy industry. It is now the centre of advanced manufacturing in materials and engineering, is leading research and development in advanced manufacturing processes, advanced construction processes, and in research into nuclear and hydrogen energy. In considering the question of the impact on the region of COVID-19, it is extremely difficult to unpack and focus simply on one impact for all the reasons that other contributors have already stated. Of course, there are material, measurable and predictable factors associated with the impact on GVA, on business survival, on employment, and on the depth of the recession we face. But critically, we also face many new and less easily definable factors associated with the impact on people's behaviour, their working and travelling practices, new ways of living, shopping and enjoying leisure time. We don't know the long-term impacts on people's behaviour of safe distancing, lockdown and absence from office and urban centres. But we can conclude, as others already have said earlier on, that it will be different from the now. It is in this context of a different world that will emerge that we face the challenges of supporting and sustaining businesses, principally manufacturing, construction and engineering, small and medium enterprises, and also focusing on the support of those economically active who are in or out of work as a consequence of COVID-19, and in helping to rejuvenate our cities, towns and rural communities affected economically, socially and environmentally. With reference to the second slide, I've identified three of the main challenges that we face. Firstly, unemployment. As an economy that's transitioning from traditional heavy industries to modern advanced manufacturing and engineering, we are at high risk of substantial growth in unemployment with all the attendant social and health problems which come with sustained unemployment. Our experience of the global recession in 2007-2008 is that the economic and social shock experienced in my region was deeper and longer than the richer regions of the UK, which tend to be dominated by financial and professional services. Our expectation is that unemployment will double in our region. But just as importantly as the absolute numbers of unemployed is the likely spread of that adverse effect on people. We are particularly concerned that the impact of unemployment will be much greater on certain groups who are least able to mitigate the effects of unemployment. Those predominantly women who are engaged in low-paid and insecure employment, young people, and those involved in employer-led training and education are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of COVID-19 on the economy. The second challenge is widening inequalities. My city region is the lowest productive city region in England, and there are vast inequalities compared with other areas of the UK and the national average. For example, average earnings in the Sheffield City Region are around 20% lower compared to the national average. In an economic crisis, inequality often widens the challenges and opportunities that come with the economy growing. The disparities will widen within our city region, we believe, and between our region and others. And this brings with it greater economic burdens and challenges and greater risk of breakdown in social cohesion as a consequence. And finally, the third challenge is in the nature of the recovery itself. For all the reasons I cited in the earlier part of my presentation, it is unknown how the recovery will play out. And our main challenge is trying to predict and plan for different scenarios in the recovery. The Office for Budget Responsibility, which is the UK government's independent economic analysis, predicts a sharp recovery, but second waves of COVID-19, economic challenges in other parts of the world, and indeed structural changes could change the nature of our economic recovery and lead to a different scenario and different challenges for my region. I haven't chosen to focus on one initiative or one mechanism that I believe would be required. I consider that a number of measures blended together to address the key issues around business activity, business survivability, employment and social cohesion will be required in order to recover optimally in a new environment that we're yet to understand in all its forms. However, I do believe that above and beyond proposed economic initiatives, the most important factor is the collaborative leadership which will be required between the anchor institutions within our region, local government, higher and further education, health, the private sector and so on. The key collaboration between our region and our national government so that our recovery planning is integrated and blends national drive for change and improvement with the nuances of what needs to be delivered locally at a regional level. And indeed, international collaboration to bring together the forces across our nations and across our regions to work together in the interests of the economic and social well-being of all our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Quería darle la palabra ahora, pasamos de continente, vamos a América Latina. Quería darle la palabra a Carolina Durán, secretaria de Desarrollo Económico de la ciudad de Bogotá, en Colombia.
Hola, mucho gusto a todos. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning for those who are in this side of the country, of the globe.
Carolina, please open your camera, and we have translation in case you prefer to speak Spanish.
No, I think it's fine. I'm going to do it in English. It's fine. I hope everyone is doing well despite the uncertainty and the difficulties that we face. And I am grateful for this opportunity to speak right now in this marvelous panel. I've been listening with attention, and I learned from all my colleagues in different parts of the world. So as you have heard in the past few minutes, we are all navigating an uncertain terrain. We have a lot of common ground in challenges that we face. Mainly, we have discussed the increasing poverty and the increasing unemployment. But I think we also have a very big challenge ahead, which is the gender gap, because all this that we have discussed have a very strong emphasis in women who are the carers, take care of the homes, and who also work in health, mainly, especially in Latin America and Colombia. They're very prominent in the labor force in health sector, but also take care of their homes, their parents, normally their kids, and are also part of the economy who are helping and collaborating at home. So the gender gap is something very important to take into consideration as well as one of those challenges. And I think that is in the short term in terms of how we're seeing Bogota. There's 4 types of economies which are presented in this slide, which we've kind of grouped together to see how we solve for those challenges and how we can work through the confinement in different terms with these type of populations. Obviously, informality is huge in Colombia, in Bogota. Almost 50% of the homes have some sort of informal contract or informal worker or informal economy. So we are talking that half of the city of Bogota is somehow informal. So when you try to understand this disease and map the disease and use data to understand how it's evolving and understand the economic effects of it and the social effects of it, and we don't have the data because the informality part of the problem is that it's very hard to see the characterization of the people once they don't reveal it to you, given that they're so informal. It's impossible to really understand how we can plan for that. So we always plan understanding that half of the population we're going to work with, half of that population we can't really see it. So we just have to work understanding and work with the half of the population of the city, and the other half we just have to give a lot of education. We say in Spanish pedagogía, and hopefully they will understand the message. Well, we regulate the formal and we leave the informal to use some sort of other type of measures, much more of the individual and cultural and kind of auto-regulation measures. So those are the challenges, but we are also working in a 3-pronged strategy. That strategy is mainly working with the private partnership. Public-private partnership is one of the strengths in this partnership. Understanding that we need to flatten please go behind one slide. Yeah, the slide before, and the slide before, if you will. Understand that we need to flatten the epidemic curve and flatten also the recession curve. So we don't really need, and we don't want to choose between one or the other, is see how we can flatten both. And if you go behind one more slide, so we can focus on my presentation. One more, please. Exactly. We have been one of the cities in Latin America who took measures very early on. We decided to do a quarantine very early, just when we had one person who was confirmed with coronavirus. And we've been able to maintain a very low level of contagion in the city. And even though we are the city in Colombia with the highest level of contagious, because we are the capital and we've had international connections, the international airport, and it's a very concentrated city in terms of urban development. So we have, obviously, it's kind of like New York in a little way of seeing it. It is very, very crowded. It's a very crowded city. So we've had a lot of contagious, but we've been able to control the velocity of the expansion of the disease. So we decided to look into 2 main factors. One, the number of beds in the UCI, which is the number of ventilators that we have disposable for people. And we decided that once it hit 70%, that would be a very a red flag for us. Right now we've maintained it below 30%. It's under 29% actually. We haven't had problems of not being able to address and
Carolina,
to serve.
por favor, le queda un minuto, Carolina, por favor. Si puede ir acabando.
Perfecto. So basically, we've been able to contain the spread of the disease. And the other thing we've been working for is the mobility of the people within the city. The mobility of the people within the city is very important. So we've been able to maintain the Transmilenio, which is kind of our subway, below 35%. We grouped the economy, as I was saying before, into 4 main groups: those who are operating because they were exempt, like the food chain; the ones who are doing home office, which is group number 2; we were able to transfer a lot of big employers to their homes and work from home, and they continue working from home even if confinement ends. We are working now with protocols for group number 3, which is manufacturing mainly, and public and private obras, construction. So we're opening for construction and manufacturing, and we are leaving for the last, the vulnerable, most vulnerable group, which is tourism and events and restaurants. They're still under confinement for now. If you want to continue, just 2 slides, so you will see one more thing. Just 2 slides. Go ahead. So this is how we are connecting Bogota with 2 main programs. The programs who attend the lower end of the informality, which is called Bogota Solidaria en Casa, we transfer cash or food to the people who need it. No, the one before or after. I'm sorry, the one after. Bogota Solidaria en Casa, we transfer cash to the ones who need it, the informal ones, and we work with the medium and small enterprises. It's the next slide, please. In the middle of that graph, the next slide, please. That is the small and medium enterprises who are actually represent 60% of the GDP of the city. And Bogota represents, with its region, 42% of the GDP of Colombia, so it's not minor. We work with them through a program called the Strategy of Mitigation and Economic Reactivation. We are working with them in doing transformation technology. We're doing like accelerated digital transformation for them. We are working into getting those on delivery of food to their homes. We're working with them in doing employment. So we're working in that middle ground through productive system, taking care of the whole productive system and employment. Whereas in the informal, we're transferring cash and transferring food. So basically we have a 2-pronged strategy, which is one is taking care system for those who need it, but also reactivating as possible the economic system for those who are in the middle of the graph, which is the ones who are actually generating the employment, so we can take care of the employment in the present and in the future. Thank you.
Gracias, Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Gracias por tu participación. Quería invitar al señor Baljevic junto a la alcaldía de Danilo Graf en Montenegro. Creo que está conectado. Agradecer también a nuestro socio Nalas, socio también colaborador compañero en Plataforma, la asociación también de municipios de Europa del Este, que nos ha facilitado también la participación de Danilo Graf. Muchas gracias. Tenía la palabra.
Good afternoon, Emilio. Greetings to all from central part of Montenegro, from Danilograd municipality. Our municipality is approximately about 19,000 inhabitants. And as any other local government, we faced with several crucial challenges after the COVID-19. And first of all, we established the local emergency management team even before the first affected person in Montenegro. So we were somehow ahead of problems, having in mind that Montenegro is one of the last countries in Europe that had affected person from COVID-19. So mainly the challenges, crucial challenges, were in social and health protection. So how to protect vulnerable groups, how to provide social care services while we have stay-at-home campaign. Also, the local economy was in lockdown. There is prohibition even now of intercity travel, and that was challenged to maintain the supply chain. And also severe pressure on local finances, having in mind the low incomes of municipal budget, while at the same time we need to maintain the local capital infrastructure projects and also communal services and any other services that provide the local government. So we can move to the next slide. You hear me? Yeah. Okay. So in the economy sector, let's say, three main challenges was how to retain connectivity or supply chain because of the prohibition of travel, intercity travel, and also prohibition of movement of citizens, while at the same time having in mind that Danilograd is an area of tourism and hospitality sector and agriculture. So these kind of sectors which are mainly closed was one of the big challenges how to cope with that kind of problems. And also finally saving jobs in private sector. I think that was one of the main challenges that we are still facing with. And I will put more attention to the quick wins, let's say, in post-COVID-19 support measures that local government is providing to local businesses. So first cluster of these measures is fiscal relief measures. And mainly it's composed of several interventions in the fiscal area. So we implemented the instruction for all businesses, and that is to postpone taxes or reducing taxes or fees for closed or those businesses who are negatively affected by the pandemics. Also, we made a recommendation for local public utility companies to postpone, to reduce, or even cancel fees for communal services for those businesses which are closed. And also having in mind that this is largely tourism area and a lot of hospitality, hotels and other operators are in that sector, we recommend to postpone or even cancel all the membership fees for tourism operators because they pay separate membership fees to local tourism organization. About complementary financial support, we provided some support that is complementary to what is the national government doing, and which is already implemented two packages of economic support or financial support to businesses. And adjacent to those measures, we implemented several of them, which are crucial to our area, let's say local tailor-made interventions, mainly in the agricultural sector, because that is also one of the main economic area in our town. So we implemented advance payments of all subsidies and incentives for agriculture producers, and that is very important because due to the prohibition of travel, they couldn't sell their products in the markets around our town, mainly in the capital city. And also, complementary to national government support measures, we do the promotion and administrative support for usage of government measures like low interest loans and subsidies for employees, which are going to have in these affected sectors the minimum wage provided by the government. But one challenge that we are still coping is the informal economy. So people who work, but they are not legally employed. So that is one challenge that we are facing with in the local economy sector. And I must say that we are very proud on this public-private solidarity and let's say partnership. So we cut off all the non-mandatory spendings of local government, cut off the salaries of top management, provide humanitarian aid distribution, food, hygiene products, medicines for more than 60 users together with Red Cross, and financial support, cash transfers to vulnerable groups, elderly, social care users, single households, people with disabilities. And I will just finish with new schemes support mechanism. We provided the new e-services for economy operators. We promote the new e-platforms, like one that make opportunity to prepaid of services and goods of local businesses via vouchers to be used after this lockdown, and provision of new financial instruments because we postponed or canceled all traditional events, manifestations, annual events. So that money will be used for supporting especially women entrepreneurship and young entrepreneurship and employment. And of course, promotion of in-country tourism travels after the COVID-19 crisis. And finally, to conclude, we follow up on the measures by other municipalities. We are in constant communication with our union of municipalities, with NALAS, and we are using the NALAS Digest to have insights in regional experience, but also to have inputs to our local business council, which is making proposals like circular economy clusters and all the others. So we are following what is happening in the region, what are the best practices, and try to implement them in our town.
Gracias. Muchas gracias, Darko. Muchas gracias por tu intervención. Nos queda una última intervención del señor Yuse, adjunto a la alcaldía de İzmir, en Turquía.
Thank you, Emilio.
Sí.
Hello, everyone.
Gracias.
It's a pleasure to be here with you in this session.
Gracias.
And it's a pleasure to talk about the experience of İzmir. My hometown İzmir is a city of 4.5 million inhabitants by the Aegean Sea. It is one of the largest port cities in the Mediterranean, and logistics, trade, agriculture, tourism, and industry are significant sectors in the city. The impact of the outbreak are fierce, and the shrinking economy makes the situation extremely alarming. The deterioration in the economy and decrease in taxes leads a decline in municipal budgets. So in order to face these challenges, we needed to develop innovative responses. And when I'm going to talk about these responses, the first one is supporting the agriculture through producers' cooperatives. We try to support them in every production and marketing steps. The second one is supporting entrepreneurship and innovation. We recently established a company called ISQ, which brings together all the leading economic stakeholders within the company's decision-taking boards. İzmir Chamber of Commerce, Exporters Associations, Chamber of Industry, Commodity Exchange, Young Businessmen Association, all the leading economics actors there on the boards. In this way, we bring together city leaders to boost innovation and enhance the entrepreneurship ecosystem in İzmir. The third response that we took in this pandemic, we support economic sectors of İzmir with İzmir Fair Company. This is a municipal corporation aiming to increase economic activities in the city. And the city's economic activities with other cities all around the world. Again, in this company, the leading business organizations are represented in the boards of the company. Their demands and needs guide the activities of the company. As all the fairs around the world have been cancelled because of the pandemic, we decided to use digitization to continue the operations of the İzmir Fair Company. We will hold many of our exhibitions online, and in this way, we are going to support the economic sector of the city. İzmir Metropolitan Municipality is, relatively resourced municipality with 1.5 billion euro budget with its subsidiaries and municipal companies. That's why I'm positive that İzmir Metropolitan Municipality can solve many challenges in terms of employment and economic activities. We have the power and the resources to revitalize the local economy. So we can achieve that purpose, these objectives, by shortening the supply chains and using innovation and digitization. Thanks to institutional innovation, we managed to establish several ways to bring producers and consumers together in agriculture sectors, as agriculture is an important sector where many people are employed within the city. I want to give more details about this issue on how we support the agriculture productions and how we cooperate with the cooperatives. First of all, municipality here signed a purchasing agreement with the local agricultural cooperatives. And now, after buying, we distribute these foods to people who are in need, and we also sell some of them through the Njabulo Fund markets. Within the scope of milk distribution campaigns of the municipality, we distributed 1,300,000 liters of milk to 125,000 of kids. Municipality also implements a project of mobile market. We take the foods to door of the citizens. These projects, the mobile market project, started during the pandemic period in order to help people to stay at home. And it works so well so far. And finally, I want to mention that due to measures taken against COVID-19, there is a shortage of agricultural workers for harvesting. To overcome this difficulty, the municipality launched a campaign to support agricultural production. The city used its digital platform called We the Izmir. In this way, we reach out to volunteers between the ages of 20 and 25. And the eligible volunteers, they sign up for harvesting. And the municipality provides them masks, gloves, sanitizers, as well as free transportation and lunch. And volunteers are provided some incentives and prizes in order to, make them available. These prizes are things like food packages, free pass, and some other kinds of incentives. With these kinds of innovative solutions, we're trying to incentivize and support the producers and help our citizens. We try to shorten the supply chain and use the technology in order to improve the efficiency within the economic sectors of Izmir. This is how we fight with the economic difficulties and economic decline within our cities. Thank you, Emilio.
Gracias. Gracias, señor Euriche. Rápidamente, para concluir, muchas gracias a los 5 ponentes. Se ha hablado de la potenciación del consumo local. Se ha hablado en varias de las intervenciones de la necesaria articulación multisectorial, público-privada, multinivel, como un elemento clave para la recuperación. Se han hablado de los retos que supone el trabajo y la recuperación, especialmente en la economía informal, el trabajo y el apoyo que se está dando en el sector primario, especialmente la agricultura, y problemáticas específicas que se van a desarrollar en muchas ciudades. Se están desarrollando con economías muy dependientes de un monosector. En este caso se ha hablado del tema de turismo y que sucede en varias ciudades, ¿no? Para finalizar, reclamar el papel en todo esto, en lo que pueda surgir aquí también de la cooperación descentralizada, en la que trabajamos muchas de las ciudades que estamos aquí como una vertiente útil para acompañar la recuperación de nuestras ciudades. Muchas gracias, Emilia, y por esta oportunidad.
Muchas gracias, Emilio, y gracias a todos los ponentes, porque realmente creo que ha dado un espectro muy interesante de experiencias y de realidades. And many of you that participate in these weekly experiences are used already to our taking the pulse of the room. 234 people now participating. We would like to now hear from you, from all the participants, beyond the interesting chat that is going on with exchanges of links. We would like to ask a couple of questions to you. So I would give the floor. I think it will be someone from FAMSI as well, Juan Carlos, that will lead us through the Mentimeter. Colleagues, can we quickly go to that page?